friends! Today's story takes us deep into the whispering woods of Timber Hollow, where the trees are tall, the mist is thick, and a mysterious creature is said to roam. Everyone's heard of the big bad wolf, but what if he's not so bad after all? Let's follow a brave little squirrel named Nina as she sets off on a very curious adventure. There was, in the dark, twisty woods of Timber Hollow, where the trees whispered to one another, and the mist curled like drowsy breath, a creature nobody would look at. They called him the Big Bad Wolf. Every animal in the woods had heard of him. He was gigantic, they said, with icicle teeth, flashlight eyes, and a howl that rattled apples from the trees. No human had ever laid eyes on him in the flesh, of course. He was a creature of the night. He left tremendous paw prints, knocked branches out of trees, and once, a half-chewing of a sock. Nobody actually knew what the devil looked like, but everyone knew he was terrifying. Well, everyone except for a very curious little squirrel named Nina. Nina developed soft brown fur, a treat pouch in the shape of a peanut, and a proclivity to ask too many questions. On this day, while she and her friends lounged at the base of the big oak tree's trunk, they heard a ringing low howl off in the forest. It terrified everyone. Everyone remained frozen in place, that is. Everyone but Nina. She craned her head forward, stood up her ears. "That did not sound very scary," she remarked. "Perhaps he is merely singing." The chipmunks regarded her, as if she had moss in her ears and actually heard. "I'm not venturing into the forest, are you?" said one. "I'm just going to reconnoiter," replied Nina, busy filling her satchel with gear. Nina set off on her mission the next morning with a map, a book, and 3 peanut butter cookies. She followed the path through blackberry thorns, across Whispering Creek, into the misty part of woods, where trees grew too thick and birds would not sing. The farther she traveled, the more peculiar the things she encountered. Scuffs on tree trunks that resembled claw marks, mangled masses of arches, and once, something decidedly like a giant scratchy sweater caught on a bush. But Nina continued to walk. She wrote in her notebook, "Note, Big Bad Wolf has abysmal fashion sense." As the sun dipped, staining the sky orange, Nina stepped into a gigantic clearing. At the center of the clearing stood a sloping cabin, constructed of black wood and curled vines. The door was open. It was quiet inside, too quietly. Nina looked inside and gulped. There was a giant tail draped over the armrest of an armchair. She slipped in, thudding hard. The room was warm, hot, in fact. Something cooked slowly on the stove. A scarf dried beside the fire. A pair of very large glasses perched on top of a book titled Knitting for Large Paws. Then the chair creaked. The tail trembled. And slowly, the Big Bad Wolf swung around. He was big, all right, with silvery fluffy fur, long whiskers, and those flash lamp eyes. Nina stood rigid. The wolf blinked. He stretched out a hand. Nina squeaked. Then spoke the wolf, in a whiny, squeaky voice. "Would you like some soup?" Nina blinked. "Wait, aren't you meant to be scary?" The wolf shrugged. "I used to be," he told her. "But it got lonely. Nobody ever hung around long enough to have a conversation." "But the howling?" "I sing to the moon," he said, scooping up a spoonful of carrot soup. "It's echoey out there." Nina laughed. They sat, they talked, they played cards. She learned his name was Reginald. He loved jazz, peppermints, and was terribly nearsighted. And not once, not even once, did he try to eat her. When Nina returned home the next day, the other animals gasped. "You're alive! Did he chase you?" Were his teeth terrifying? But Nina only smiled. "He made soup," she said. "And he cheats at Go Fish." From then on, no one called him the Big Bad Wolf. They called him Mr. Reginald. And once a month, on the night of the full moon, the Timber Hollow creatures visited his clearing to sing. Not because they had to, but because he made the best hot chocolate in the forest. The end.